One of the distinguishing characteristics of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that it has a very informal belt structure and a relatively simple one. It's just blue, purple, brown, black. There's not a large number of belts, and there's no set criteria as to what constitutes a blue belt, purple belt, etc. So there's a natural question for people to ask, okay, what does it mean to say this guy's a blue belt? What did he do to deserve this? The whole idea of a blue belt is interesting when you think about it. It's the first belt you get in Jiu-Jitsu, which is based on merit. Okay, when you walk in the door and begin to study, you're a white belt, they just give you the belt. Doesn't matter what you know or what you don't know, you just get the belt as you started. But blue belt is the first where you're getting it not arbitrarily, but because you've achieved something in the eyes of your instructor. He's looking at you and saying, okay, this guy deserves this belt. The question, of course, becomes, well, what did you do to deserve it? What we could do here is offer some kind of artificial set of moves. If you know these 15 moves, you're a blue belt. And if we said that, we'd be liars, because there's no one set of moves where if you know them, it guarantees you're a blue belt. Ultimately, the decision will be based upon considerations like how well you do against your peers in a white belt class. There will be certain moves that you are expected to know, but there's a lot of flexibility about that. There are some people who clearly deserve to be a blue belt who don't know certain moves. Other people who also deserve to be a blue belt will know a different set of moves. So we can't say, okay, if you know these small set of moves, you are definitely a blue belt. I'm never going to give that as an answer. What I will say is there are certain skills that you should be able to perform against people of your own experience level, which will demarcate you from white belt to blue belt. So, for example, I've always believed the primary skill that any blue belt should have is the ability to escape from someone of roughly similar training experience at will. Okay, if you're in a class of white belts and if someone gets on top of you and pins you down and you can't get out, you're not a blue belt. Okay, your first skill that you must develop is the ability to, when you're working with your peers, people of roughly the same training experience as you, you've got to be able to get out of bad positions. If you're struggling with that, it's going to be a major issue for you as you go further into the sport. And that'll be probably the first and most important skill you'll want to work on as a blue belt. Another key theme of being a blue belt, of showing that maturity, is that you have an equal propensity to be effective from both top and bottom position. Okay, the sport of Jiu-Jitsu clearly works along the idea that it's neutral between top and bottom position. You should be equally effective in both. And if you're in a situation where you can only win when you're on top and you can never win when you're on bottom, it's going to be hard for me to grade you as a blue belt. Okay, you have to be, you can have a preference, there's nothing wrong with that. You can prefer bottom position or prefer top position, but you can't be completely ineffective at one. Okay, you must have some kind of effective game plan from both top and bottom position. That's another distinguishing characteristic of a blue belt. And then another key thing that I'm looking for, you've got to have some kind of effective offense. Okay, you've got to be able to go there and beat people. By the time you get to blue belt, you should be able to beat people in the room among your peers. Okay, so you've got to be able to get out of bad positions. You've got to be effective from bottom position. You've got to be effective from top position, and you've got to be able to finish someone. So with that in mind, let's look at some good examples of moves which I would be pretty worried if I met someone who claimed to be a blue belt and they didn't have a good working knowledge of the moves we're about to look at. I won't say that these are moves where again, I'll say that we won't say that there's a set number of moves that you have to know, which will by definition make you a blue belt, but there are some moves where if you didn't know them and have a good working knowledge of them, it would be grounds for frowning upon a blue belt if it were awarded to you. Let's look first at escaping. And if there's one thing that I think the entire jiu-jitsu community would agree on with regards to giving a blue belt would be that the elbow escape is the single most important defensive movement that you must learn. And if you don't know this by the time you're blue belt, you shouldn't be wearing that blue belt. I think that's one thing they'll all agree on, okay? Of all the strangles, there's no question that the most high percentage and the safest in terms of positional strategy, tactics, etc., are strangles from the back. So as a developing blue belt, I would insist on the idea you've got to have a good strangle from the back. Okay?
Yeah.
So that would be my logic for developing blue belts. We can't give an actual curriculum. That's a very artificial kind of way to think about it.
I agree. No, but it was
There's going to be variations.
Yeah, but it was a very good idea to understand that the person has to have a good bottom game, good top game, good escapes, and good submissions. Yes. And while you were talking, I was even thinking, like, for example, one person who does wrestling, maybe he has a good top game, but he doesn't have escapes, he doesn't have submissions.
Now, he might be very tough in the gym, provided he can get his favorite positions. But he's not yet a blue belt, he's not yet complete in those areas.
He doesn't have the
if he went against a better wrestler, he would be exposed.
I agree.
So there's that sense in which you've got to cover those 4 bases.
That's I agree.
Goal.
Yeah, and also
we looked at 4 high percentage ways to do that.
Yeah, and also the person knows those 4 topics like good enough. He might be in that level that he's the blue belt and soon purple,
and you could even get fancy now and start saying if he could exhibit those 4 skill areas and actually help some of his fellow white belts, in other words, he's starting to teach, then he's definitely getting towards blue belt level. If he can make someone else better, then at that point he's starting to show, okay, this guy's got some maturity now. And he needs that.
Yeah, even when you were explaining that, before you mentioned finish people, you mentioned beat people. Yeah. And then I was thinking, like, that's true. Like, in order for him to become blue belt, he gotta be able to at least like duel against somebody, right?
You gotta be dangerous.
No, I agree.
You gotta be able to take someone who's your own experience level, and you gotta be dangerous to them. If you're not dangerous, you're not there yet. The first thing, you got to be able to disarm the danger from the other guy. You got to have defense. Okay, I'll say this again because it's so important. If you're in a room full of white belts, and some of those white belts are pinning you down and holding you down as long as they want, you're not ready for blue belt. Okay, I don't care what else you've got in your game. You've got to be able to get out of bad situations. You've got to be equally good from top and bottom position, and you've got to be a little bit dangerous. You've got to be able to finish people. You can do those 4 things and do them competently, do them well, and do them under stress in a sparring situation. You're looking good for promotion.
And Joe, you just talked about escapes, and I was just thinking here, like the very first video of your Go for the Faster program, the fundamentals one, is the pin escapes, right?
So, and it was first for a reason.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, so guys, we are building like the entire series with John about the Go for the Faster. So make sure to check that out at bjjfanatics.com. And thanks so much, John. That was amazing. It was a great explanation. Like even though I'm a black belt, it was great to hear like this way of explaining like those 4 topics. I think it was very, very clear to understand. So thanks so much, John. Appreciate it. Awesome.